Good evening, everyone. Hello, and welcome to another Wednesday night and another Monty and Mazza Diet Podcast with me, Montalban, and my co-host, Mazza McBob. How you doing, Mazza?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yes, I cannot complain. Yes, we're back after having a week off of the Diet Podcast and reviewing some Star Trek episodes. But we're here again to talk to you about all things healthy eating and healthy living and all that kind of shenanigans. Or not so healthy, as the case may be, given that it's December. But yes, we'll get into a bit of that. So, Mazza McBob. Oh, hi, Smiler, by the way. She enjoyed watching you make yourself look more beautiful earlier on. I did manage to completely mess up my camera work once again. It wouldn't be... Oh, and the... I know, the chat's not on. There we go. And it wouldn't be... It wouldn't be one of my live streams, would it, if I didn't completely mess it up at the beginning and have some lovely shots of Maz doing her makeup.
Yes, it was a message from my mother telling me I look fine. That made me realise.
Yeah. Yes. Smiler did shout into me. Yes. So I Lindy Hop as well. Hello, Smiler. Good to have you on board on this Wednesday evening. And this cold Wednesday evening. I don't know if it's just me, but last couple of days have gotten very cold.
It's peeing it down with rain out there, and I have also been feeling very cold.
Yes, it's not very nice out there this evening. But we're going to keep you warm tonight in our warm embrace. So... without getting too over familiar with any of our guests out there. But yes, so how have you been doing, Maz?
Well, it's been a mixed bag. I mean, I guess, we usually start with stats. And the stats for me this time, without context, perhaps not so good. According, to the last sort of Wednesday, 2 weeks ago weigh-in that we did, I have gained a half a pound. Which is not great for 2 weeks of effort. However, given some context later, I'd say I've clawed it back well because it was worse than that. And, things, the wheels might have fallen off the wagon slightly. So, yeah, we can talk about that a bit later. In terms of, my overall weight loss at the moment is still at 25 and a half pounds. And my body fat, actually, although I've gained half a pound, has dropped by 0.2%. Pretty much everything else is pretty similar to what it was. But, odd really that I've gained a slight bit of weight, but still lost some body fat percentage, apparently, according to my scales, although I'm still not sure about how accurate that is.
Yeah, scales can be weird things, can't they? There's certain variants of that you get from standing on a scale, I find.
I think there are very scientific ways to calculate a body fat percentage, like if you go into a proper facility to do it. But I think with scales, I'm not sure that it's really that accurate, but I don't know about the science. It's to do with, send some sort of electronic, I don't know what they do, but I don't know. I've heard that it's not that accurate, but I'm not sure.
Good evening, Stu Plum, who's just joined us. Good evening to you. My stats this week has been a whopping 4 pounds.
Loss or gain?
No, gain. Yeah, gain.
And Crazy Crack is joining us too. Hello.
Hey, Crazy Cracky. You all right, mate? It's a massive 4 pounds on. But it is December. It was my son's birthday last week.
Considering how much you've lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is it. Considering how much you've lost, that's not too bad a dent, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I was sort of to go back on how things were 2 weeks ago. So, we finished the last podcast on a Wednesday. I was okay for a couple of days, and then on the weekend, I decided to have my 2 days off the diet, as I'm trying to do like a 2 and 5 situation.
Yeah.
And then after those 2 days, I basically gained 3 pounds, which was pretty crazy. I ate some bread and I had a takeaway, which I didn't think was that bad, but it wasn't great. and then I went kind of back on it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday the following week, lost 2 of those 3 pounds. And then on the Thursday, I had this Herman, the German friendship cake to bake. And then I had this like massive load of really nice cake, like lemon drizzle cake and really nice kind of spicy cake. And stupidly, I remembered back from my time of working in this really wonderful boutique cake manufacturers in Harrogate that I worked for, called Betty's and Taylor's. And up in Yorkshire, they talk a lot about how they always eat fruit cake with really nice extra strong cheddar, like mature cheddar. And it sounds like a crazy thing, but I thought I had this really lovely fruit cake I'd baked. So I thought, what's this go like with a really nice piece of extra mature cheddar? And I tell you, it goes well.
Did it? That's a bad thing to have found out, I feel.
I know. So I made these cakes on a Thursday. So then like Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday were kind of a write-off because I had the weekend, I had more takeaway, I had, like you say, your son's birthday, and I made all these cakes, and the wheels fell off the wagon at the end of the day. It wasn't just that I was off the wagon, like the wagon was kind of obliterated for a little while there. So
somebody brought a whole tray of Herman lemon drizzle cakes around to my house.
I did. I mean, I might have eaten like 2 or 3 of them first, but I did bring round the ones that were remaining. Yeah. But we also had a giant one, like a big size one that I made Ludicrous of Katie Fitness eat most of. And then there was the fruit one that he wasn't so interested in, and I thought was really delicious. But I've got to a point where I was like, I can't finish this cake. So I have chopped it up and frozen it now because, I couldn't bear to see it go to waste. And I was like, I've got to stop eating cake. So I have actually frozen some of it now in the hope that I can both preserve its yumminess and not massively overeat for more days.
It was good. Lindy Hops also thinks in my case it could be blamed on the F1 on the weekend. But as Stu Plums pointed out, it wasn't the F1 that did it on Sunday. It was the copious amounts of beer we drank and wine. That didn't help. I don't know if have you got the audio coming out on your thing? I just suddenly got some feedback on myself.
No, it's just going through my headphones.
Maybe it's just coming through me then. Maybe that needs to be done. Okay. So that didn't help me last week, along with takeaways for my son, and so it's and cakes. Lindy Hop brought around iced buns as well.
I know, and I brought around cakes on the same day.
You brought around cakes. So I had to eat them.
We didn't coordinate very well.
It was very nice. We did well. It's good to have some time off, isn't it? Especially at Christmas time in December. So yeah, we can let our hair down a little bit, and we'll get back on it soon, maybe in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that, to be fair, I got to this weekend and I thought, I talked about this fear. I had like the first sort of 10 weeks of doing really well on the 800 thing. And I talked about this fear of going into this more relaxed zone where I'm supposed to only do it 2 days a week and stuff, and how that wasn't going to work for me. And to be honest, I don't think that's going to work for me. I think, I'm kind of an all or nothing sort of person, and I think having that structure works for me really well. So, this week from Monday, I kind of, went back to the whole 800 calories, take pictures of all my meals, that kind of thing. And that does work for me. And I think, certainly from Sunday to today, I've kind of clawed it back a little bit in terms of the weight. And, even though I've had a gain over 2 weeks, which isn't great, it wasn't a massive gain. And, now that I've gotten back on track, it'll only be a matter of days till I'm treading new ground, and I know that there is Christmas coming in 2 or 3 weeks' time, and there will be the odd day where I will not be able to stick to the calories. I still think for me personally, on the days where I can stick to it, I pretty much have to stick to it. I think I need that structure. I think I seem to operate better. It was like 3 months that I did this really well, that I even surprised myself. And I think I kind of need to stick to that structure in order to be successful.
Yeah, I think I'm the same, to be honest. I'm kind of an all or nothing person, really. Yeah.
It makes me worry about long-term, sort of longevity, as in even once I get to my goal weight and people say, well, you just need to adopt a different lifestyle and whatever, and it has to be a permanent change.
Yeah.
So I guess if I'm an all or nothing person, I worry about that long-term thing. But then, it might not be right, but maybe as a long-term thing, you can do a week on, a week off, a week on, a week off, Maybe it's just a case of, if you're all or nothing, you have a week where you relax it and a week where you just keep to the calorie count. And maybe as a long-term option, all or nothing, week on, week off, could be a way to go.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I think that's an easier thing than having half days or something like that. Because when you're off, if you're like me, when I'm off, I'm off. It's no half measures. Lindy Hop says, "As blame us blaming poor old Herman the Sherman. He just wants to share things around. We're not really blaming him. We just think he's a bit of an instigator of things, that's all."
We do love Herman. The only problem with Herman is because, like, when you're growing this cake, for those of you that don't know, it's like a sourdough starter. So you have it for like 10 days and then you grow it and then you make a cake. So the only problem for me is, like, unlike where you might be planning on making a cake for somebody's birthday or something and just having a slice, because Herman is on a timed thing, it suddenly creeps up on you. It could be like a Wednesday and you're suddenly like, crap, I've got to make a cake. And then, like, what do I do with this cake? So it's the timing element of it, to me, that throws a diet, because it's not something that you necessarily have in your control and can schedule. So yeah, that's my only issue, but I do love it, and the cakes were amazing.
They were. Yes, Stu's pointed out it's a balancing game. Yes, and Lindy's also pointed out we've got Chinese on Tuesday.
You do?
Yay! Yeah. But yes, Stu's pointed out that with Chinese you have one Trump and it's all gone.
And also Dion's joined us.
Hey Dee, hiya, how's it going? Hope you are well. Yes. Right, so we've got only just a couple of menu options of interesting things that have come up in Maz's menu over the last couple of weeks. So here's
That's interesting with inverted commas, because we did say that going every 2 weeks, I would only report things that were more interesting. But in fact, I haven't eaten anything new that wasn't articulated before. So, and I did go a few days solid, which was kind of like a relief for me with not having this podcast. I must have had about 4 days solid where I had porridge for breakfast and black dal for lunch. Whereas, when you're doing a podcast, you need to sort of provide variety. But this was an example of one of about 4 days where I had pretty similar things. But for dinner there, I've got a curry with cabbage. And for those, who are dieters, and I think, Mark, you've appreciated this when I've sent my food parcels to you. But basically, I think that the carb replacement thing works really, really well if the thing that you're adding to those vegetables packs such a flavor punch. And this at the bottom there is a chicken tikka masala that my other half makes, and it is so amazing. It's from an Indian superfood book, and it has so much cardamom and cloves and garlic and tikka paste and all kinds of different spices and garam masala. It is such a flavorous curry that really you can put it on anything. It doesn't have to be rice. You can put it on any kind of vegetable in the world, and it is just going to taste phenomenal. So it's all about that flavor punch of your centerpiece, and then you can surround it with any vegetables, and it's completely satisfying.
Cool. Yep. I do agree that if you're packing in the flavor to replace the carbs, it's great payoff.
And I think the next one, no, that's the same one. And the next one is kind of similar. So, and I did have on this lunchtime was a little bit of an extravagance for me. I had a sweet potato. I get these from my Riverford Veg Box deliveries. I get a lot of potatoes actually that I don't use. By the way, Mark, if you want some potatoes, you can come get some because I've got a lot of potatoes in my fridge that I'm not using. I do sometimes send my guests home with little bags of Riverford potatoes. But with sweet potatoes, they are, their energy properties and their sort of carb balance is a bit better on the diet. So when I get those randomly, I do try to use them more than the white potatoes. So that's like obviously a sweet potato there, but it's got a whole tin of tuna and mayo. It's very light mayo, but it's amazing. I mean, you're talking just very, very filling and nutritious. And then for the dinner there is my meatballs, which, again, with the flavor punch.
I know them well.
With some broccoli and flat beans.
I know that curry well as well.
Yeah, exactly. And, all the same old stuff. So this was when I started getting back on track this week, basically. And there's the typical avocado toast and Thai green curry.
I've got to remember to add porridge to my weekly shop things. I'm pretty much nearly run out. I've got like 2 sachets left.
Is it a particular flavour you get? You should let us know. We can get it from Booker's.
Just the plain ones.
Cool. And
so what are you having for breakfast there?
Yeah, no, it does. Obviously,
you weirdo.
You point out that I have lunches for breakfast, but you got to understand that I work for a couple of hours before I can have breakfast. So I generally start working about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then my alarm that I can start eating doesn't go off till 9. And it's sometimes, a half hour or an hour till I actually do anything about it. So I've been working for a few hours, and then I kind of wander into the kitchen, and then I look about thinking, what should I have? So sometimes I just cast upon something different. And I basically had lunch for breakfast and breakfast for lunch, because then I had a bit of eggs and mushrooms for lunch. If I had more time in the morning, I'd have probably done it the other way around. But I think time, I think we might discuss in a minute about reasons why we fall off the diet. But for me, time for me has factored a lot into it in the last month or so. And then my dinner is just another beef stew, which I love, was from a batch from quite a while back, only about 230 calories, crazy low.
Yeah. No, but I think you're right. I think time is one of the key players, isn't it? In it. It is for me. Just making sure you've got time to prepare the fresh things. I can be so lazy and just end up picking the the nearest ready meal or the nearest frozen thing in the freezer. I can just bung in the oven for 20 minutes and that's it, done. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, in the last, it's been sort of since mid-November, really. I've had a lot of work on, like a lot. I'm working, in terms of the billable work I'm doing, I went from a summer of being completely furloughed to working around 6 days a week at the moment. And then on top of that, I've got my little, my knitting sideline,
your knitting empire,
which is basically occupying every other minute of my day that I'm not doing billable work through my core job. So the only time that I stop working is to quickly eat, or shower or sleep. Those at the moment are kind of my only downtimes. So there's a certain stress and pressure there. I could just set all of my knitted stock counts to 0 and just stop doing it. But there's such a massive spike in demand. Like everything is going out of stock. As soon as I make anything, it's going out of stock because it's Christmas. So I've not only got my normal work pressure, I've got this retail peak pressure for all this knitting that I just started as a hobby in the summer because I was furloughed and never really thought about the fact that it might take off quite as madly as it has done.
Still being sold under the name Crydar on eBay, is it?
Yeah, Crydar 5.
Crydar 5 on eBay. Check it out.
Crydar 5.
Link in the
check
description.
It out, but like literally everything's
stocks are going fast.
Out of stock. I mean, it's like last night I knitted up 3 more little hedgehogs, and then today they've sold. I've got 8 things waiting for me to post. It used to be that I'd sell 1 or 2 things, each day, whereas now, literally as soon as I put some stock in, it's gone within like a few hours. It's crazy. So there's a lot of pressure at the moment. I'm finding I don't have much time for, recreation or, elaborate food stuff. But it's kind of okay because as long as you're applying still the rules of the calorie counting and such, like, for example, like yesterday, I might have had things that today, I might have had things that were quick and easy to do, like, a bit of bread and something, rather than preparing or cooking something. You're still like having a weather eye on calories and you're still trying to consider that within the scope of what you're doing. But I think that, certainly time pressures mean that although even if you can stick to the calorie count, you're not having as healthy things. So for me, if I have more time and I can prepare, sort of eggs or something cooked, or, I will have more nutritionally, they'll have more nutritional value, the things that I'm eating. So it is a bit tricky. And I think the other major pressure right now, as you pointed out earlier, is it's Christmas. Yeah. So that's the other part of it. I've got, I had a friend come round on the weekend and don't need to say that you feel blamed for this or anything if you're on chat. But we talked about I could cook this, we could have this from the freezer, or we could have takeaway. And it's like their face lit up at takeaway, and I'm easily led. So I'm like, totally let's get takeaway.
She's looking down the list.
I didn't say, dear.
No, she is.
But I'm easily led, so I'm like, yay, let's do that. And to be fair, I still didn't order any rice and I still didn't order any naan breads. I just had a chicken dish and a vegetable side dish. So even within breaking the rules, I'm still at least, sort of sticking to the rules. But I think that the seasonal thing is quite difficult. And tonight is no
Dee's taking responsibility
to the rule. Who is?
Dee's taking it on the chin.
Bless her. Thank you. Yeah, and to be fair, we have been drinking, and that's kind of another issue with the seasonality. So for me this evening, I had an annual work do, which included a wine tasting event, which ran today from 5:30 until 7:30. So I had 2 hours of wine tasting, and when the package came for my wine tasting, I thought that they'd give us, like a glass-sized bottle of wine, like what you get if you go to M&S at a train station or something. You've got all the really easily accessible little bottles of Prosecco, little bottles of this and that and the other. I thought they'd give us like maybe, 3 of those or something for having a glass of each thing. But instead they gave us this. So we got like a half bottle of this French wine, and we got a half bottle of this other red French wine. And then they also gave us a half bottle of this white wine. And a half bottle of this other white wine. Did they start
off as half bottles?
Yeah, they are half bottles. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they're not like, you don't know if you can see, they're not empty. They've still got some in them. You can see, look, see?
There you go, yeah.
They're not finished. But they basically sent us 4 half bottles of wine for our wine tasting. And I was like, are they expecting us to drink 2 bottles of wine in 2 hours? Because that's cray-cray. Which they didn't. But to be fair, we did drink quite a few glasses. So, the whole merriment around alcohol and Christmas parties is yet another barrier for successful dieting.
Yeah.
So,
it is.
I mean, I kind of compromised with not having a proper dinner. I just had a couple of crackers with cheese to go with my wine.
Yes, and as Lindy Hop pointed out, there's another Formula One Grand Prix this weekend. So
hey, more beer.
Rot roll.
Rot roll.
Yeah. Yes. So that is another problem, isn't it? Because your inhibitions do disappear after you've had a few glasses of wine, and you think, wow, some cheese would go well with this, and.
Wine itself has calories and such like, so
sure,
even having it is not great. But and the thing is my company, they sent me the crackers and they sent me the cheese. It was like all part of this care package for this, kind of do. So it's like you can't be a party pooper once a year when we've had the year we've had.
What can you do? Stu masks, are they still full, those bottles? I think they're quite a bit empty now.
Yeah, what I did do, which I didn't tell my colleagues that I did this, but I did try the 2 reds last night. I was a little bit worried about, they can't expect us to drink it all in one night, but I did try the 2 reds last night. So those are more towards finish. They're not, but the whites, I've only just tried tonight, so they're a bit more full than empty. Especially this one. This one wasn't so good. This is like mostly full. It's Louis Jadot. The red Louis Jadot was nicer than the white Louis Jadot. That's all I can tell you.
And I did get myself I did get myself some Shiraz Cabernet Sauvignon Wolf Blast.
Good.
Because I felt, well, you had red wine, so I felt left out. So just to join in, I thought it would be rude for me not to join in.
I mean, all of the ones I was sent were French. Yours are probably well nicer, but I like New World wines.
Yeah. So moving on to the feature, we didn't really have much to talk about tonight, so I thought I'll have a look at some healthy eating facts, and I found this article on Healthline, and I thought we could just go through some of these are like common sense facts that should be common sense and everybody knows about them, but not everybody does. So I thought, well, that might make an interesting thing to go through and see if any of it rings true with us.
The audience?
Hey? No, I don't think it's going to be so much of a test. But there you go. If anybody got any questions or wants to talk about it, obviously you can in chat. So I think it's about 20 of them, so we can just rattle through them. So the first one is about artificial trans fats. are unsuitable for human consumption. So these are things that have been a part of food production and that a lot in the past, but now have pretty much been phased out. And I can see through here it says that whilst they're in distribution up until 2020, I think they're all being phased out now, trans fats. So at least that's something we don't have to worry about.
Do you know, trans fats, like the only time I've ever heard them referred to is in like American films or TV programs. Literally the only time I've ever heard, like, I don't think any English or actual physical person I've ever spoke to has said anything about trans fats other than in American TV.
It's the process that makes liquid vegetable oil solid at room temperature. There's probably some food production things that's useful for, but it's a bad thing, apparently. The next one is you don't need to eat every 2 or 3 hours. So a lot of people believe that eating smaller and more frequent meals helps them lose weight. But what studies and things have shown is actually abstaining and fasting it can be a lot better than eating all the time. And we kind of know that. It's kind of borne out from the reactions we get from our Fast 800 diets, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I would say that this maybe doesn't apply to everybody. There might be people, for example, not really on the diabetic scale, I guess, but people who need to regulate their blood sugar maybe needs more regular food and such like. But for me, as a specific, I think this is, this can be quite individual, I guess is what I'm saying, because for me specifically, I've suffered my whole life with acid reflux. When I've consulted with doctors about that, one of the major things that they've pointed out to combat acid reflux is not to snack. They say that, when you eat food, your acid levels peak. And then as you digest that food, your acid levels lower back down again. And then you go for a period of, not eating. And then you have your next meal and your acid levels peak again. So, if you're snacking all the time as an acid reflux sufferer, your acid levels are staying higher for longer. So you should just aim at having 2 or 3 meals a day and, avoid snacking in between if you're an acid reflux sufferer.
Okay. Yeah, take news headlines with a grain of salt. They find that quite often news headlines sensationalize research or contradict each other. So don't necessarily always believe everything you read. So that bearing that in mind, I'm probably not going to listen to the rest of this list.
Yeah, especially when there's a nice little tartan butt there on the.
Oh my God! I don't know why that's there. That's nothing to do with me.
No, that's been coming up on my my app day news feed on my Samsung as well. To be honest,
it's something that's the Google Ads is pushing at the moment. The next one, meat doesn't rot in your colon.
Be paying high values for that.
Yeah.
Of course, it doesn't.
No, I don't know why anybody would think meat would rot in your colon. But
it's one of the reasons why people have enemas and colonic irrigation. They have this idea that meat takes 6 weeks to transit through your digestive system and that sort of thing. And so, they feel like if they, get their colon flushed out, then it will stop all that horrible stuff from being inside them anymore. I think, again, it's quite an American thing, actually. It wouldn't surprise me if this list is kind of, focused on an American audience, perhaps. But that's why, this theory is why a lot of people in America get colonic irrigation and stuff.
Right. See, I knew you'd know thick stuff. I have no idea this was a thing.
Oh, it's just California rubbish, really. But
yeah, eggs are one of the most healthiest foods you can eat. Apparently, they're demonized because the yolks are high in cholesterol. But, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, again, probably in the LA world, but yeah, if you talk to any nutrition experts and, anybody who does, kind of bodybuilding, any of these body beautiful people like Joe Wicks, all that kind of stuff, they will tell you that, yes, egg yolks have a bit of cholesterol, but they are so rich in protein and the right kinds of fats that certainly for things like, all of these keto diets, for things like, for example, the Fast 800, eggs are absolutely one of the things you should be eating for sure.
Yeah, that tart on the butt lady's back.
Yeah, she's just going to keep coming back.
Stop coming back. Go away. Get off my stream.
That's fine.
Oh, dear. Yes.
You're entertaining my slightly sozzled brain. It's good.
Sugary drinks are the most fattening product in modern diets. They haven't seen my diet, but I see what they mean, and they're pointing out that added sugar, excess sugar in liquid form is even worse than normal sugars because you're not getting the other things that go along with eating sugars and processing it. Liquid sugar is literally getting straight into your blood and then building up those bad fats from there, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with this one. I think, I happen to live with somebody that loves energy drinks and stuff like that. And I just find it, so wasteful. If you're going to take on calories, there are so much more tasty ways of doing so. And certainly for younger children. Yeah, exactly. And certainly for younger children who are just like craving, all these kind of soda pops and all that kind of stuff. I think none of that is healthy. So yes, definitely bad.
Low fat doesn't mean healthy.
Oh, that's a great one. Completely agree with this one. Because for several reasons, actually. One of them is because, and no offense meant to any of these particular regimes, because I know they can all work. But for example, if you buy, diet versions of, or Weight Watchers versions of, or, sort of SlimFast versions of, sometimes it might be lower fat, but you're actually getting a lot more sugar and salt and other things that they put in to replace the flavor of the fat, because if you just take that out, it'll become something horrible and bland to eat. So I think there is a watch out for, for your sugar intake if you're going low fat. But beyond that, talking from a macronutrient level, actually the Fast 800 advocates that you should have, a high protein, high fat diet, which is kind of aligned with keto thinking and helps your body to, kind of process things in such a way that, you're balanced with regard to insulin and, and staving off diabetes and things is all really, really good. So you shouldn't have low fat, but you should be having fats, lots of fats like, nuts and avocados and olive oil and all that kind of stuff. And if you're going to have dairy, you should opt for the higher fat versions of dairy, but just not have it in such massive proportions that it's going to cause you coronary problems.
Just going back to the chat for a minute, Dion says she's looking forward to having gin from this month's gin club on Friday. So looks like you've got a gym session coming your way.
Yeah. She's got these cocktails which involve, I think, papaya or something. It sounds really nice.
That sounds healthy.
And
it's
got fruit in it.
Yeah, it's got fruit in it, and gin's not too bad as far as it goes. And Stu Plum says you can't enjoy wine if you have to spit it out. So you say you've been doing wine tasting. So I think thinks you've been spending all afternoon spitting wine out.
No, that's not really how it works. Even when I went to Bordeaux, the only person who spat out the wine was the guy who was driving. So no, not really how it works. As long as you do this thing where you suck in like the air and you let it aerate around your mouth and all that kind of thing, but then you don't have to spit it out afterwards. You can just swallow it and enjoy it. We were given though, these we were given these sheets we had to fill out. And we had to say, you know, what was the clarity, the viscosity, the aroma, and the taste, and how balanced, and our rating. So
It's pretty good.
it was quite fun.
Yeah, it's good fun. Dion says a gin star martini.
Yeah.
Sounds nice. Sounds nice.
Exactly what we're supposed to be having.
Fruit juice isn't that different from sugary soft drinks. So this is saying, like, if you're getting like fruit juice, like orange juice, you know, you think you're getting these like healthy juices, but actually it's no better than getting a Coke.
That can be true in some circumstances. So, you know, some fruit juices have less nutritional value, and all fruit juices are high in sugar. However, if you have juices that are more like fresh pressed juices, they're slightly more expensive, I know, but fresh pressed juices, and you know, a lot of orange juices, they will say from concentrate with added vitamin C and that kind of thing. So they still have some, you know, from a vitamin point of view, they have more redeeming features than sodas, you know, soda pops. But the pressed juices, the fresh pressed juice, fresh pressed apple juice, you know, the ones that are cloudy, they have a lot more of the natural vitamins and things that come from the apples themselves than those clear ones that are from concentrate.
Yeah.
So it depends.
But like it says there, roughly a 240 ml of orange juice contains as much sugar as 2 whole oranges. So if you're going to have like a large, because I like a massive slug of fresh orange, if I have fresh orange, but I'm probably in the equivalent of like 4 or 5 oranges, which is quite a lot of sugar.
Which is true. And the other thing to consider is that you're getting less fiber than if you ate the actual oranges, like a lot less fiber. However, you're still getting more vitamin C and nutrients than if you drank the same amount of like fizzy Fanta.
And talking about fiber,
so it's all a balance.
go on tonight, feeding your gut bacteria is critical. And I think gut bacteria needs fiber. So if you're neglecting the fiber and just taking everything else, then you're not feeding your good gut bacteria, and that's leading to your body being unhealthy. So,
yeah, definitely. And a balanced diet is key. I mean, what I don't know a lot about in terms of scientific study is, there's people that have the live bacteria drinks, the things that they say live bacteria, and it helps your gut, like and all that kind of stuff.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen it around for, a good 10 years, I think. Not something I've ever really bought into or ever really looked into, to be honest. It's just something I feel like, well, I've never needed this. Do I need it now? But I think that kind of product is trying to promote this, this kind of idea. I don't know about its scientific validity, to be honest. It's not something I've looked into.
No.
Definitely you need fiber. Fiber is useful, it makes everything move. That's what's important, is to keep everything moving with high fiber intake.
The next one is cholesterol isn't the enemy. Apparently.
Yeah, again, it's a bit like that whole thing about eggs, it's all in context, really. Depending on your lifestyle and depending on, what it is you're eating, you can have different reactions to it. But I think anybody who has high cholesterol maybe has an issue, but it doesn't mean that you should avoid it. I think that, I think it just needs to be in balance for each person. And I think, possibly getting a cholesterol check every now and then is what people need to do. I mean, I'm, naturally massively obese, for example. My other half is quite a whippet, and he has higher cholesterol than I did, or at least he did a lot of years ago, from what he ate. Didn't really put his health in any kind of jeopardy, but it did make him think about what he ate. But yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the food, and certainly you shouldn't count eggs out of your diet because you've heard they're high in cholesterol, because they're super healthy in other ways as well.
But what they're saying is it's not the cholesterol, it's the problem. It's this high density lipoproteins, because it's the high density, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, lipoproteins that ends up carrying that cholesterol around the body, and which then was when cholesterol causes you problems.
Right,
So,
okay.
yeah.
And what are those high density lipoproteins caused
Well,
by?
that's a very good question. I don't know. I just read that sentence.
No, but I'd agree,
Yeah.
it's like saying fat is the enemy.
Yeah.
It's not, it's on a whatever.
Weight loss supplements rarely work. You can forget buying the weight loss supplements. So
Depends what they mean by supplements. Does it say there?
no, it's just they're just canvassing a broad brush of. They reckon that a few like glucomannan do something, but it's a small something, and they reckon it's just willpower and lifestyle changes.
Yeah, I mean, if you consider, for example, like we've both on occasion used Slim Fast shakes as a meal replacement. I don't know if a meal replacement thing would be what you'd call a weight loss supplement. But Slim Fast as a company have been.
No, what they're talking about here is they're talking about like herbal pills that help you lose weight faster. Caffeine pills,
right, okay.
Orlistat.
Yeah, I think all that's a bit of a crop,
pills,
to be
green
honest.
coffee bean pills.
Yeah,
all that
that's
sort of
definitely
thing.
all a complete scam. Yeah, absolutely. Acai, I've seen a lot about acai berry pills as well. It's all a crock.
Health is more than just your weight.
Definitely agree with that. I mean, if you look at BMI, it's just cray. I mean, they talk about how it's supposed to be more to do with the percentage of your visceral fat to other fats. So there's something about your waist measurement against the rest of your body, which is actually supposed to give a much more accurate representation of your health.
I was hoping it wouldn't come to that.
I mean, you might say that, but
oh, damn.
For example, if somebody is at a certain weight and they've still got like a pot belly, and they might be within their healthy range, but their body shape might be not right, and their body shape might indicate a health issue. Whereas you could have somebody who technically is overweight, but their body shape indicates that they're actually fit and strong, and they've got the right mass in the right places. So, I think that's why BMI as a pure weight measure comes under a lot of criticism, because it should be more about, proportions than pure weight, I guess. But, I don't know, that's a subjective view, but health obviously is about more than your weight. People can be anorexic and not be healthy. I mean, health is about a whole bunch of different things. You can be a perfect weight and smoke 40 or 60 a day. I mean, it's clearly a no-brainer.
I'm being advertised nice sweaters now, so I'm all right with that. I'll leave.
At least you haven't got the tartan butt girl.
I know. I'll leave that advert there. That's fine. It's, calories count, but you don't necessarily need to count them.
And I agree with that for many people. I think each to their own. I think, like for Dion, for example, she follows Weight Watchers. They have a point system. I think there's different ways. If you're on Slimming World, there's, SINs and that kind of thing. I think all of these things indicate that you need some way of keeping account of what you're doing. If you don't need to do that, then you probably don't have a weight problem to start with. If you do have a weight problem, then you need to keep account somehow. It doesn't have to be calories. But obviously, the Fast 800 is very calorie focused and has been hugely successful for me so far. So, it might be a pain in the ass, but there are apps that make it easy. So it works for me.
people with type 2 diabetes shouldn't follow a high carb diet. Well, that seems to make sense to me right off the bat.
Yeah, and apparently, if you went on a strict keto diet, and it probably depends on how long you've had diabetes, but you can potentially, by very low calorie and low carb diets, from a lot of different studies, reverse diabetes in the early stages. So, this is all stuff that should be taken quite seriously and looked into if you're at risk of diabetes. I think anybody with diabetes has a super strict regimen of when they should have carbs and when they should take their injections and all that kind of thing. So it's all just highly, highly regulated regardless.
I think what's saying here is that for decades, people have been advised to eat low-fat diets with carbs bulking it out. Carbs making up to 50 to 60% of the calories. And they're saying that's a terrible piece of advice for people with diabetes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, which just makes absolute sense, doesn't it? Neither fat nor carbs make you fat.
Well, again, totally
Sugar.
Subjective. Anything can make you fat. You could, probably overdose on protein and put on some weight, but
I think
a
that's
combination of
yeah.
energy in, energy out, and what your body does with that. That's the problem.
Yeah, they're saying it's not the chemical makeup of them in themselves that makes you fat. It's not the having the balance and just not having a healthy balance. Junk food can be addictive.
Do you know, I don't know if we covered this a little while back, but we might have done. It might have been like about maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago. But I was reading something about the different types of junk food, things like pizza and burgers and all that kind of thing. And when you consider all of those things that we as a people consider quite appealing and addictive and find it really difficult to say no to, in terms of their nutritional content from the perspective of, carbs and fat, and this could be a coincidence, whatever, but they're all quite similar to breast milk. And there's a theory that these food industries out there are aware of the fact that as humans, we crave that particular percentage of carbs and fat, and that they've created this fast food industry based on our base childhood cravings of what we really, really want and find comforting. And that, this whole sort of, fast food industry, the reason why it's got so much cheese and bread in it, is to basically feed off that. And that's why we're addicted to it, is because that's what we wanted from when we were born. So that may not be true. But I think the way that some people react to junk food and the fact that they get used to eating certain junk food and the fact that they get into a pattern, I don't know if it's an addiction. I think it's just people get into a routine quite easily, and that routine is quite difficult to break.
Yeah, I think
with the conspiracy theory there.
it could be right. I think it could be right. And I think with the the advent of these, they say, more complicated processing ways of processing food and combining the right salts and sugars and all those things to make something that when eating it just gives you that dopamine hit that goes, for whatever reason, it
makes you want to reach for another.
Yes. Love that. I want to reach for another. And you can get into that cycle, can't you? And
apparently there's this specific 40-60% ratio that just drives the human brain mad.
Oh, Smiler. No. No.
What Smiler said?
I
can't see.
Bitty. That's Little Britain sketch with what's he called? David Williams, where he's a grown man and they're like in different different social settings, and he's a grown man, and they'll just be having like a dinner party or something, and he'll just turn to his like mum and he'll go, Bitty. And she'll be like, no, Jason, no, not now, Bitty. He basically still breastfed, even though he's like a 40-year-old man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just the most disgusting. Said about breast milk, and Smiler had to put Bitty. I was, oh no.
I mean, as you may know, I never watched Little Britain.
Have you
That's
not?
why I didn't get that. No.
Yeah, it's awful. Anyway, I've put that image now
Terrible
into
program.
all your heads. Yeah. Yeah, she said she's still getting a delay on the stream. I think she might be the only one, because Dee replied straight away when we asked her a question a minute ago. But I imagine, there's a certain number of people out there that are now Googling Bitty in YouTube. See, Dee's just Googled it, I think. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yes, terrible. Anyway, a few left to go. Never trust health claims on packaging. So this is in particular around the misleading labels like whole grain and low fat. So if you buy like Cocoa Puffs or Fruit Loop, cereals and things like that, a lot of them have like labels on them to make you think you're buying something healthy.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, with like catchphrases, I think nutritional labels, they have a certain governance over what they say around, even with the brag status of, whether it's good for calories and fat and whatever, there's like a color coding system. So I think from that point of view, it's pretty well governed and is better than it used to be like 5 or 10 years ago. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit like what we came to earlier with the diet foods. Is anything that says, low fat or high in this is what else, they padded that out with. It might be low in fat, it might be high in sugar. Specifically, something that disturbs me, like psychologically, but a lot of people might be fine with, is for me, the idea with cereal, when they say fortified with iron. Do you know what that means?
I imagine it means that they've got some like iron shavings and they've just like grated some iron into it.
Yeah, effectively.
Is that
really
right?
on
Am I
a less on a less scale than that. That's kind of right. It's like this industrial powdered iron which gets added to like cornflakes. And which I saw this program about it, and like they used this, industrial magnet to see if they could drag like a cornflake around from its iron content. It did take an industrial magnet, to be fair, because it's such a low concentration. But the really annoying thing about it for me is, and this is where you say I'm weird for the things I eat for breakfast, but what they do with the cornflake, right? You know what a piece of corn looks like?
Yes.
And it
like
has that little
corn.
like a piece of sweet corn, right?
Yeah.
And inside it, if you were to squeeze it inside it, there's this little like almost triangular shaped thing in the middle, which is kind of like slightly greasy in texture. I don't know if you're aware of it.
I've never taken apart my sweet corn nubbin.
Well, basically, there's this little tiny sort of waxy bit inside of a corn, and what they do is to make a cornflake. Because it's waxy, you couldn't make a cornflake crispy with that in it. So they take that bit out of a piece of corn before they kind of press it into a cornflake. But that is the bit that contains all of the nutritional value. So then they make it into a cornflake, and then afterwards they try and add nutrition back by fortifying it with iron, which, to be fair, is it's iron that you can digest. It literally is like a derivative from the metal, but it's a, I can't remember what you call it, but it is a digestible type of iron, but they basically take all of the nutrition out of the thing to make it into the thing that you eat, and then they try and artificially add the nutrition back in, which to me is absolutely horrendous. I could wake up in the morning and have half a tin of sweet corn. You'd find that odd, but actually that would be a way better way to go than eating a bowl of cornflakes in my mind, because it hasn't gone through that, manufacturing process of having all the nutrition removed and then having it artificially put back in again. So, there you go. I might eat weird things for breakfast, but at least I don't eat cereal.
I liked cornflakes.
I'm sure you do. A lot of people do.
No, I did.
Many people like all sorts of cereal.
I don't.
How much cereal can you look at that you think is not in some way massively, massively hyper processed?
I don't.
I mean, a cornflake would be one of the least processed, you'd think, or a bran flake.
Yeah.
But something like Cheerios. I mean, like Cocoa Pops.
You mean they don't
how
grow
much
them
does
like
that resemble the real thing?
don't they cut them off of bushes? Cheerios.
The Cheerio tree.
Yeah.
It's a Cheerio tree.
Oh, I thought it would. Oh, there you go.
Not good.
Ruined.
Nutritionally bad.
Certain vegetable oils should be avoided. So it says avoid.
Not that I'm aware of.
This is what they're saying. This is what these people are saying. But don't read everything you read. Don't believe everything you read in the news, which was number 6. So
Yeah. They're saying like sunflower, soybean, and corn oil. I wouldn't say they were to be avoided. I'd say there's better oils like olive oil and coconut oil. But I don't think any oils are to be avoided.
I think they're saying avoid ones that contain omega-6.
I thought omega-6 was some fish thing that you're supposed to have. Shows how much I know.
No, I think that's omega-3.
Oh, right.
I don't know. I don't know. Let's move on.
Relative to it. All right.
Yeah. Organic or gluten-free doesn't mean healthy. Ooh.
Well, yeah, of course it doesn't.
You can still have a lovely fattening cake, I suppose, and it can be organic.
Yeah, it could be a gluten-free super muffin.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
it's absolutely full of sugar.
I mean, organic's a bit different. Organic is normally applied to a vegetable. If something's a vegetable, it's generally going to be healthy, surely. Oh, I said that, but that's not necessarily true because here we go.
You can get organic sugar.
So this is the very mature cheese that I've been eating.
Hold on.
It clearly says
I'll
there.
Make you big. I'll make
organic.
You big.
Organic.
There you go.
Very mature, very tasty cheese. I can't say that very tasty cheese is super healthy, but it is organic.
Okay, and lastly,
disprove that one.
Lastly,
we proved that one.
Don't blame new health problems on old foods. So it's saying things like, red meats, eggs, and butter are all been stable part of the human diet for thousands of years. And it says you should try putting the things on more modern food processing technologies, I suppose.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know quite what they're getting at with this, but there's obviously an increase in vegetarianism and veganism and all that sort of thing, and I think in cases where that's for like a moral or a eco-friendly reason, I think that's all really good. But where it's done as a theory that red meat, as they say, or whatever, is a health issue, then I would take issue with that, because we basically, that's what we've been doing for thousands of years. Like, if that was a problem, like, surely, well, not thousands of years, but millions of years, I don't know how many tens of thousands of years that humans have been around for. So, yeah, I don't think, I wouldn't buy into that, but Yeah, I don't know quite what
Don't
they're
know.
driving at with that.
Don't know. I think it was probably just from the 80s and 90s when diabetes was on the rise. People were blaming red meats, and some people were blaming it. Reuse real butter. You should use more healthy alternatives. I think it's things like that. And what they're saying is sometimes. Oh, am I still here? What happened? Hello? Hello? Don't know what happened there. I've lost Maz. Have I lost my stream? Oh. I'm afraid I think I've lost everyone. Oh, well, it's time to end the stream, I think. I think we pretty much finished. We finished off our look through. Yeah, we lost Maria, but she's back. Can you hear me, Maz?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you disappeared for a while. The stream went all weird.
Yeah, you froze for a bit, and then I could hear you for a bit, and you couldn't hear me.
Yeah. Oh well, that was weird. But anyway, I think we're going to be wrapping things up now. Anyway, we've been through our topics. I think that was quite good, wasn't it, for a spare of the moment things to talk about?
My question is, are we also doing this in 2 weeks' time?
In 2 weeks' time. What's the date in 2 weeks' time?
The 23rd. You may be at our parents's.
Oh, that's a good point.
And I may be as well, I'm not sure. But I may come on the day after.
Yeah, I think so, probably. Yeah, we will be here.
You might do it on a different location.
Yeah, might be on location with the family. But yeah, there'll be something on at 8 o'clock that Wednesday, even if it's just us singing Christmas songs and drinking wine. I don't know. It's not going to be that. But yeah, we'll be on for a bit for something. And next week, we've got the TNG review show where we're reviewing The Naked Now and something else. Can't remember the other episode.
Super excited.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I'm going to be watching them this weekend and making some notes for that. Tomorrow night, I've got the Thursday night live Fortnite live stream over on the main channel for those who want to come and join me play Fortnite tomorrow night. And on Friday, I think I've got the next Monty Zone with G-Star.
Do you know, I haven't gone on Fortnite yet since the new series.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, you come on tomorrow night if you're around.
I know, I'm just, oh, the stupid knitting.
Stupid.
Yeah, it's just hard. I don't have any time to do anything I want right now.
Yeah.
It's so harsh because Chris keeps playing and then I keep having to leave the room because I don't want spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so Fortnite live stream tomorrow night, and then the Monty Zone on Friday with G-Star, where we decided to not talk about Christmas related, but actually go back to Egypt and talk about the Sphinx. So that's what we're going to be doing on Friday. So that's what the rest of the week looks like on the Monteban channel. And, Maz, I don't know if you noticed, but Monteban Live is up to 50 subscribers. Yay! So that's pretty good. Yeah, we're halfway to 100. So it's getting there slowly. So we're happy about that. So Gin and Monty Zone on Friday then, says D. Yeah, join us for Gin and the Monty Zone. At 9 o'clock on Friday.
Let me know if you want any pics.
Yes, we'll do. Well, you've given me some for. I've got some of yours from the Sphinx that we're going to use. So yeah. Yeah,
I sent you all the Giza ones, but last time you were referring to other pyramids that I went to that I didn't give you pictures for. So I'll just send you the lot, and you can choose
all to me. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yes. So yeah. So we've got a lot of live streaming coming up this week. TNG review next week. And another diet podcast in 2 weeks' time. And Christmas. So it's all go.
Yay.
Anyway, thanks for joining me this evening, Maz. Thanks to everyone in chat. Thanks for your comments and joining in with us. It's been fun. And we'll see you again soon. Cheers, everyone.
Hurrah.
Bye.
Bye.